Hi, everybody, and welcome to the DRF Breeding Report. I'm Dan Illman, along with Nicole Russo, and in this week's edition of the DRF Breeding Report, we will recap the Keeneland November 2017 sale. And Nicole, as we take a look at some of the final results, a little bit of a mixed bag, although I think Keeneland has a little bit of a tough trip excuse, in that they didn't have that big dispersal, and their headlining mare, Lady Eli, had to be withdrawn after suffering some minor injuries after the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf.
Well, I love that you used the metaphor of a tough trip because, yeah, Keeneland definitely faced some challenges coming into that sale. So all things considered, when you look at the numbers in context, I think it shows, a fairly healthy and sane market. The money was still there, especially for offers perceived as quality. Of course, you had some fireworks at the top with a $6 million mare like Champion Stellar wins. But really, I think the middle market propelled this sale. We saw very strong activity later in the sale in books 2, 3, and 4, leading to these, again, very healthy, sane final numbers. The thing that was the most encouraging to me was that buyback rate. 24%, a solid number, improved from 2016. And again, in 2016, they had that dispersal where 100 horses from Conquest Stable were offered without reserve to help that buyback rate. So the fact that this year improved off of that, definitely, another indicator of that strong overall market and healthy middle market. It wasn't just the horses at the top of the sale propelling things forward. Horses were moving and bringing solid figures throughout this sale.
Well, let's take a look at the top 5 mares led by the aforementioned Stellar Winch, Champion, who went for $6 million. Catherine Sophia, $2.3 million, the second highest priced mare. We discussed those two in a previous edition of the DRF Breeding Report, available on demand at video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. Let's talk about the 3 through 5 mares. For Royalty, $2.1 million, Enchanted Rock, $2.1 million, and Oscar Party at $1.9 million. And let's start with For Royalty. Not only is she a black type winner from a strong family, but she's foaled a Grade 1 winner already, and that is Constellation. And we'll take a look at Constellation winning last year's La Brea Stakes. A very gutty performance coming from off the pace.
Yeah, very much so. And For Royalty, a relatively young mare, only 10 years old, this daughter of solid broodmare sire Not for Love. And she's already got 4 stakes horses on her resume at age 10, of course, led by Constellation, who's got a solid resume facing some very nice horses over the last couple of years. Also stakes placed Backflip, Upper Room, and Queen Mom recently stakes placed this fall at Churchill Downs, that 2-year-old filly, and going in stakes action again this weekend there at Churchill. A lot of upside, I think, to For Royalty so early in her broodmare career. Sold in full to Bernardini, and one of several high-ticket purchases for Summer Wind Farm, joining their stellar broodmare band. So really, really interested to see, what she continues to produce and who they match her with next year. Dane Lyon, the owner of Summer Wind, said that they'll kind of go to the drawing board on that.
Another mare with a very strong resume is Enchanted Rock, the dam of graded stakes winner El Padrino, multiple stakes place La Madrina, and Verrazano, a multiple Grade 1 winner and a very strong 3-year-old on both dirt and turf. We're taking a look at him winning the prestigious Wood Memorial. Enchanted Rock in full to more than ready, a full to Verrazano on the way.
Yeah, and I think that alone makes her worth her purchase price, honestly. Verrazano, obviously a stellar racehorse, very promising young sire. His first yearlings were well received this year. A versatile horse who was a great Group 1 performer on both the dirt and turf. If she's carrying a colt to the cover of More Than Ready, I mean, gosh, the residual value alone certainly sets you up. And for that matter, even if she were to have a filly, this family, everything from the family produces. It's the family of Chick Shrine, of Champion Queena, so many stakes performers and producers. And Enchanted Rock, I think, a really interesting pickup for Peter Brand's White Birch Farm, which has made a big re-entrance into the commercial arena the last 2 or 3 years.
As for Oscar Party, who went for $1.9 million, this is a nice mixture of performance on the racetrack and pedigree for a relatively young mare.
Yeah, she sold carrying her second foal to the cover of leading sire Tapit after producing a colt by that stallion earlier this year. Oscar party. A younger mare, as you just referenced. She's a half sister to two graded stakes winners. She's a daughter of Dixie Union. Certainly the family is there for her to produce in her own right. Going to Alpha Delta Stables, another outfit that made a couple of big moves at these November sales.
Now let's take a look at the top 5 weanlings at the Keeneland 2017 November sale, led by a $1 million offering, a colt by Curlin at a Violent Beauty. Not surprisingly, Tapit very well represented with 2 powerhouse fillies, one out of My Conquistador, one out of Mooshka. We talked very much so earlier this Keeneland November sale at the American Pharaoh's first crop. Very impressive. This JZ Warrior colt went for $575,000. The Pioneer of the Nile Bobby Use colt went for $550,000. Let's talk about the sale topper. It's this Curlin colt. And this horse is a half-brother to Violence, who has gotten off to a very hot start as a stallion and was pretty good on the racetrack, as we see by his win in the Cash Call Futurity.
Yeah, Violence, a Grade 1 winner at 2 graded stakes performer early in his 3-year-old year before injury ended his career. Now a very promising young sire, second leading freshman sire this year. Just an outstanding family behind him in this weanling. The family of Sky Beauty, of Maple Jinsky, of Deja, of Pine Island, of Point of Entry. Just a stellar family. And Curlin, of course, what else can you say about him? We keep going back to that statistic. He's produced a classic winner or classic placed runner from each of his crops at age to date. Just a stellar producer of stamina and grit. And, this is the sort of colt where, he seems to have the upside on the racetrack. Should he perform well, the residual value as a stallion is certainly there. Andre Lynch, Bloodstock agent, signed that $1 million ticket for a partnership to be named later, and they intend to race him. This is not a pinhook prospect.
Now let's take a look at the highest price weanling filly. That's the Tapit My Conquistador filly. Let's take a look at My Conquistador winning the Grade 1 Alcibiades Stakes at Keeneland. She was a very good 2-year-old. She continued on with 3rd in the Del Mar Oaks. She was capable certainly on any kind of surface. And as a young mare from a strong family, and boy, this Tapit filly's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, My Conquistador was in that Conquest Stables dispersal last year that we've referenced, was a 7-figure sale carrying this filly. They've signed the filly to recoup some of their investment. She was picked up by Bakari Bloodstock, so we could expect to see her back as a yearling pinhook next year. It will be very interesting to see how she develops, especially being a mid-May foal then May 11th. And I mean, by leading sire Tapit out of a Grade 1 winner and a pretty versatile Grade 1 winner, so just a ton of ability, I would think, for this filly.
Another late foal, this late May foal by Tapit out of the Grade 1 winning mare Mooshka. Let's watch Mooshka winning the Spinster Stakes at Keeneland. You'll see her in the familiar Juddmonte silk splitting horses right now. And boy, this filly not only has Tapit on top, but you just look at the names in this pedigree. Slew Ice, the 2nd dam, was a good horse. And then you've got the 3rd dam, the Great Lakeway.
Yeah, definitely. Lakeway, multiple Grade 1 winner, almost earned $1 million back when horses were not what they are now. Just a stellar race there. She's a multiple stakes producer. Her daughter, Slew Ice, a stakes producer. Mooshka, now in her broodmare career, I think she's well positioned, not only with that female family behind her, but I do think that Empire Maker down the road is going to turn out to be a stellar broodmare sire. Another daughter of Tapit, this one purchased by a partnership. And again, another one that I'm going to be very interested to see how she develops, being, a late May weanling.
Well, certainly a solid Keeneland November 2017 sale, a very healthy middle market. Nice to see the buyback rate down to 24% after 27% buybacks in 2016. Next week on the DRF Breeding Report, Nicole and I will take a look at 2 intriguing 2-year-olds from Churchill Downs, perhaps on their way to the Spring Classics. Join us then.